You open your laptop. The task is right there. You stare at it for 3 seconds, then suddenly decide you should get some water first. 10 minutes later, you are cleaning a drawer you have ignored for 6 months. It looks like laziness, but your brain may not be being lazy. It may be trying to protect you. That is the strange thing about procrastination. You know the task matters. You know waiting will make it worse. And yet, the moment you are about to begin, something inside you quietly pulls you toward anything else. A message, a snack, a tiny chore, a video you did not care about 5 seconds ago. Why? Because procrastination is not simply a time management problem. It is often an emotion management problem. Your brain is not just reacting to the task. It is reacting to the feeling attached to the task. That feeling might be fear. It might be shame. It might be boredom. It might be the pressure of being judged. Or it might be a quieter thought. If you actually start, you lose the excuse. So your brain does something very old, very clever, and very inconvenient. It moves you away from discomfort. For most of human history, this was useful. If your ancestors heard something moving in the dark grass, their brains did not calmly open a productivity app. Their bodies prepared to escape. Survival came before planning. Today, the thing in the grass might be an essay, a work email, a tax form, a job application, or a project that forces you to show what you can really do. It has no claws. It cannot bite you. But your body can still treat it like a threat. So you click away, your anxiety drops a little, your breathing gets easier, and your brain learns a simple lesson. Avoiding the task makes you feel better. That is why procrastination is so sticky. In the short term, it works. Psychologists Fuskia Siro and Timothy Feichel have described procrastination as a problem of short-term mood repair. In plain English, your brain is trying to make the current you feel better, even if it creates trouble for the future you. Future you will have to rush. Future you will have to apologize. Future you will have to deal with the consequences. But present, you gets relief. And relief is a powerful teacher. This is not a victory of logic. It is emotional pain relief. But why do some tasks feel so threatening? Often, the answer hides inside a dangerous equation. Your performance equals your ability. Your ability equals your worth. If those three things get tied together, a task stops being just a task. It becomes a trial. If the essay is bad, it does not just mean the essay is bad. It means you are not smart enough. If the project is average, it does not just mean the project is average. It means you are average. If the exam goes badly, it does not just mean you need another strategy. It means something is wrong with you. And when a task becomes a trial, starting becomes dangerous. This is where procrastination offers protection. If the result is disappointing, you can still say, I could have done better if I had more time. It was not my ability. It was the deadline. It was the chaos. It was the fact that I started too late. That excuse might sound weak from the outside, but inside the mind, it can protect something fragile. It protects the belief that maybe somewhere underneath the mess, you still have enormous potential. Psychologists call this self-handicapping. It is like entering a race after secretly tying a weight to your ankle. If you lose, you can blame the weight. If you win, you look even more impressive. It is irrational, and it makes emotional sense. Because for a brain that is terrified of being exposed as not good enough, any excuse is better than a final verdict. This is also why telling yourself, just be disciplined, often fails. If the task feels like a threat to your identity, more pressure can make the threat louder. The brain hears discipline as danger. It hears effort as evidence. It hears a rough first draft as humiliation. So it escapes. Diane Tice and Roy Baumeister studied procrastination in college students and found a pattern that feels painfully familiar. Early on, procrastinators sometimes reported less stress because they were temporarily avoiding the work. But later, as deadlines approached, they reported more stress, more illness, and worse performance. In other words, procrastination can make today feel lighter by making tomorrow heavier. It is like pushing a bill into a drawer. The desk looks cleaner. The bill is still there. It is just waiting in the dark. The procrastination cycle usually begins with a hopeful sentence. This time you will start early, and you mean it. You imagine yourself calm, focused, organized, and ahead of schedule. For a moment, future you seems like a completely different person. Then a few days pass. Nothing happens. The next sentence appears. You really need to start. Anxiety rises, but you still tell yourself there is time. Then the inner noise begins. You should have started sooner. You can do literally anything except this one thing. You cannot even enjoy your distractions because guilt sits in the background like a low hum. Then comes the most dangerous sentence of all. There is still time. It sounds comforting. It is also a very talented liar. It lets you imagine the future as a wide open room. In that room, future you has more courage, more focus, more energy, and somehow a completely different personality. But future you is still you. Piers Steele, in a major review of procrastination research, connected procrastination to self-regulation, impulsiveness, task aversion, and the way people discount future rewards. In everyday language, that means when one option feels bad now and another option feels good now, your brain often chooses the closer reward. This is why deadlines can suddenly make you powerful. It is not always because pressure creates your best self. Sometimes it is because the fear has changed direction. At first, you fear the task. You fear doing it badly. You fear being judged. You fear discovering that you are not as capable as you hoped. But at the end, you fear not finishing. You fear the missed opportunity. You fear the angry email. You fear disappointing someone. You fear the whole thing collapsing. When the second fear becomes stronger than the first fear, you finally move. So when you say, I work best under pressure, that may be partly true, but it may also mean your brain has learned to wait until the fire alarm is loud enough. There is another kind of procrastination that does not feel like fear. It feels like resistance. The moment someone tells you what you should do, you do not want to do it, even if the task matters, even if the goal was your own idea. In this version, the task is not just a task, it becomes control. Starting feels like surrender. Delaying feels like freedom. The procrastination is not saying, I cannot do this. It is saying, you cannot make me. That can happen with bosses, parents, teachers, partners, or even with your own plans. The moment a wish turns into a rule, part of you rebels. There is also procrastination that comes from fear of success. That sounds strange. Most people think procrastination is about fear of failure, but sometimes success is the thing that feels dangerous. If you do well, people may expect more from you. If you finish the project, you may be given a bigger one. If you become visible, you may be criticized. If you succeed, someone close to you may feel threatened, jealous, or left behind. So the brain slows you down, not enough to completely destroy the dream, just enough to keep you from becoming too exposed. There is also the problem of time itself. Clock time is objective, but felt time is personal. Next week feels far away. Tomorrow feels manageable. 2 hours looks like enough time for something that actually needs 2 days. You are not unable to read a calendar. Emotionally, you may not believe the deadline is real until it is close enough to hurt. That is why procrastination cannot be solved by one inspirational quote. If procrastination is helping you avoid fear, then yelling at yourself creates more fear. If procrastination is protecting your self-worth, then shame makes the task feel even more like a judgment. The real shift begins when you turn the task back into a task, not a verdict, not a measurement of your value, not a trial where your whole identity is on the witness stand, just a task. Carol Dweck's research on fixed mindset and growth mindset is useful here. A fixed mindset treats performance as proof of who you are. A growth mindset treats performance as information you can learn from. For procrastination, that difference matters. If you start a task to prove you are smart, every mistake is dangerous. If you start a task to collect information, the first attempt does not have to be impressive. It only has to exist. You can replace, I need to do this well, with, I need to see what the first ugly version looks like. You can replace, I have to finish everything, with, I only need to open the file and write the first bad sentence. You can replace, this will prove who I am, with, though this is one small action on one ordinary day. Tiny beginnings work because they do not sound heroic. And because they do not sound heroic, they do not wake up as much fear. The procrastinating brain is suspicious of big promises. It hears, I am changing my life, and it panics. It hears, I will do 3 minutes, and it may let you pass. Another useful shift is changing the voice in your head. Most procrastinators already have an inner prosecutor. That voice says, what is wrong with you? You always do this. You are lazy. You are hopeless. It sounds tough, but it is not useful. Shame does not make a frightened brain braver. It usually makes it hide. What you need is more like an inner defense lawyer, not someone who makes excuses forever. Someone who asks better questions. What feeling are you avoiding? What does this task seem to threaten? If the first version is ordinary, would that really prove you have no value? What is the smallest action that would move this from imagination into reality? That is not self-indulgence. That is accuracy. Procrastination loses power when you can see what it is protecting. Maybe it is protecting you from failure. Maybe from success. Maybe from being controlled. Maybe from being seen. Maybe from the painful discovery that you are not a flawless hidden genius, but a normal person who has to learn by doing. And strangely, that normal person is the one who can actually move. A perfect imaginary self cannot write a real first draft. A real imperfect self can. Of course, some procrastination is also connected to the brain and body. Long-term attention problems, depression, anxiety, sleep disruption, chronic stress, and executive function difficulties can all make starting tasks genuinely harder. If your procrastination is severe, long-lasting, or damaging your life, professional support is not a sign of failure. It is a way of putting the problem in the right place. Because the goal is not to bully yourself into becoming a machine. The goal is to understand what your brain is trying to protect you from. Then you can answer it gently. This is not a tiger. It is an email. This is not a trial. It is a draft. This is not your entire worth. It is one small piece of work. So tonight, when you open your laptop and the task is right there, you may still want to get some water. But this time, you can pause. You can notice the urge to escape. You can recognize it as an old protection system mistaking discomfort for danger. Then you can put the glass down and write the first sentence.